Welcome everyone to HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. We've been off for 3 or 4 days focusing more on football, but off from talking hoops. Last time we were on, we brought you some recruiting intel relative to Arkansas's focus moving ahead when you've got to wait effectively until the spring, not only for portal recruiting, but anything you want to do to wrap up the class of 2026. So the last time we were on, we brought you intel from sources familiar with John Calipari's thinking on why he chose not to, in the end, escalate the NIL, the full package offer to Baba Allah Dotton after Maryland had done the same, with a focus on, kind of pointing his efforts to the spring for a player like Jordan Smith Jr., who's Arkansas's remaining top priority on the big board. We know J.J. Andrews was the overall, but he committed to Arkansas mid-May, signed in November. So Jordan Smith Jr. and a handful of other high priority players are in Calipari sights again, knowing he's going to have to wait to the spring. And when we were on, we mentioned that we were going to talk frontline the next time we came on. The idea was we're going to do it over the weekend. We didn't get a chance to do that. Arkansas hired a football coach Sunday. That's been my focus, but we're going to talk a little frontline today, get into some of that with new intel as well there, and then we're going to kind of circle back on some things. Now, look, I've also touched base with Arkansas's coaching staff in the last couple of days, and so even though there's not a lot that's earth-shattering coming out right now because there is a wait, we'll talk about maybe the philosophical approach and how they're looking at things, understanding that their sleeves are still rolled up and they are determined to add to the high school part of the class. Even though again that'll carry into the spring. Arkansas again signing two players, five-star local J.J. Andrews, the 6'6" wing at Little Rock Christian Academy, Abdu Torre, the 6'5" wing out of West Haven, Connecticut, Notre Dame High School up there, who Calipari, now that both players had signed and gotten their paperwork certified by the NCAA back in mid-November during that week-long signing period, Calipari said, look, Torre, he views him as a five-star talent as well. So effectively, Arkansas's got two five-stars. He also said on the record that he's looking at one or two more again to add to this class, and he's not just talking portal at all. He's talking the high school part of it. So again, touching base with the staff in recent days, some new intel, additional stuff in terms of frontline recruiting. And we're going to hit on a couple of names today. Ones we've talked a lot about, or at least one we've talked a lot about, one we've mentioned even recently. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things there. And then we're going to circle back to some other stuff. Also, we're going to wrap up today with a preview. We're going to do a preview of Arkansas Louisville. So glad you're here with me. Glad we're talking hoops again. And there's a lot to talk about. So let's get into the recruiting part of it. And let's just jump right in to a player I know you're going to recognize once I pop him on here. Miikka Muurinen, the 6'10", 6'11" combo forward, really a 4-5. So he's a combo 4-5, I think, for the college level. Probably a combo forward when you look at him as an NBA prospect down the road. Now, he's playing overseas professional. Everybody knows that. When he was a college recruit, which may end up, being a factor, but once his pro season plays out, Arkansas has been one of the teams, made his final six. Arkansas, one of the few schools he actually visited. And compared to some of the other schools that he did visit, Arkansas was his favorite. That was intel from source information coming directly from that got it directly from Miikka Muurinen back in the fall of 2024. So it's been over a year, and we're just kind of catching you up to speed. Now, this is a player that's kind of gone back and forth for a year. He was either going to reclass to 2025 or stay in 2026. That went back and forth. Then he did not come back to the U.S. to play spring and summer basketball with J.J. Andrews and Brad Bill Elite. Helped that program win the 16 and under Nike Peach Jam. Not a part of the most recent Peach Jam championship where J.J. was the MVP. Nonetheless, he stayed overseas. Then he didn't come back to attend one of the independent schools. Last year was Arizona Compass Prep as a junior. He opted not to do that this year, stayed overseas playing professionally. Where, to be quite honest, it's not like he's, killing it over there in his limited. Now, he's one of the younger players in a pro league, played internationally over the summer and then stayed to play professional ball. And he's been on the record saying different things over the last several months. But remember, it's just been back and forth. Does he stay in one class? Does he move to the other? Does he come back to the States to play his high school senior year? No. and those kinds of things. There's also been talk of he's been on the record saying his goal continues to be to after this season to play a year of college basketball. But there are other voices out there that are kind of dialed in, saying, you know what, he really wants to and intends to try to get in the draft, the NBA draft after this upcoming season. And so there's a lot of things that you hear regarding Miikka Muurinen. Again, 6'10", 6'11". I think he'll be more of a 4 or 5 at the college level, maybe a 3 4 at the NBA level. Versatile guy, has all the soft skills, can handle the ball at his size, shot creator off the bounce, 3-point shooter, above the rim finisher, a rim protector, really good length and plus athleticism. He's a really good player, but is he determined and bound to play a year of college basketball? He has said that, but again, there's been so much back and forth on what he wants to do in terms of again reclassifying other things, pro or college, and where was he gonna play this year? So there's been so much of a ping pong on this. It's hard to track sometimes, but here's the new intel. A source that one of my better sources on the international scene, told me the recent scuttlebutt and getting it from good sources is that he really wants to get into the draft after this season. He really prefers that path. Now I mentioned it. It's not like he's exactly killing it overseas. He may need a year of college or something else after this season to be a viable first round pick. I don't know what exactly his goals are, but I'm sure that it's to be a first rounder. Well, I would think that a lot more security in that, but either way, this source is telling me very recently, within the last week, that the latest, you know, thought process here is that he wants to be on a path to get into the next draft. Well, that was always what he wanted to do if he was going to reclass to 2025. And there's been varying opinions on is he even eligible for the next draft or not. The last I heard he is, but look, colleges and college coaches are still recruiting him. They're still going after him. You know, you've heard North Carolina State, some other options for him. Arkansas again, among the leaders of that top six. And then circling back to Arkansas staff this week, I can tell you they're fully aware of the challenges of getting Miikka Muurinen on their campus or any other campus, and that it might just be a player that's going to stick to a pro path. And so they're still recruiting, but with the idea that this is not as simple as a player that's destined and bound to be a college Division I college player after this upcoming season. Effectively, he's like a player out of the portal. If you want to call it high school recruiting, which we are, it's only because he would be a freshman in college, a true freshman like any other high school player, on the same path age wise, relative to that, effectively. And that would be what he would be, part of your freshman class if it went that way. So Arkansas is still recruiting him, but not with the idea that it's a certainty that he's going to play college basketball. And so that impacts a lot of things, especially when they're overseas. You can't go out to see him. And again, he's already been on Arkansas's campus for an official visit over a year ago. So we're going to see where this is going. I guess the synopsis here is Arkansas still recruiting him with the understanding, like a lot of folks, that it's really uncertain, that this player is going to play college after this pro season for him plays out. And even though, he's just like you're waiting on several players in the spring, this is one that could take beyond the spring and into the summer. I guess any of them could, but another one that might take a while. And you may have other options and things that you want to do to shore up your front court as opposed to waiting unless you feel certain you're going to get the guy. So that's the update. Again, the international source telling me the latest buzz is Muurinen wants to get in that draft and maybe less inclined to go the college route. But this again has changed so many times, back and forth on other topics, including partially this one, that could change at any point. The other thing is, when we look at this, he recently, I think, publicly said his year in Europe playing pro sports, this is the only year he wants to do this. So if that's true and he sticks to that, then it is go in the draft and stay in it, or test the waters if you can and sign with a college. There's more than one way that could float. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll give updates as we get them, but that's the latest on Miikka Muurinen. All right, so let's move into a reclass possibility from 2027. Obena Akizi Jr., the 7-footer down at Southeastern Prep, in Orlando, Florida. Teammates, by the way, with Beckham Black, CJ Rosser, a combo forward that are very versatile, 6'9". There's some comparisons maybe to Baba Aladdin, but all three of these guys are top 10 rated 5 stars in the 2027 class. But age wise, Akizi could reclass and be eligible for the next draft after a freshman season of college basketball if he reclassed. So, in other words, this junior season of high school would be his last. He reclasses um, maybe in the spring, and then the next thing you know, he's a freshman next year with his eyes on a potential one and done for that 2027 NBA draft. So here is a player that Arkansas offered in September when the early period opened up. They've got offers out to CJ Rosser, priorities of all these guys. Beckham Black got an offer as well, Anthony Black's brother. And so we'll see what Calipari's got in the works here. But this is a player I know for a fact that Arkansas is pursuing and pursuing with the idea, whether it's 27 or 26, they're good either way. And again, this is an opportunity to continue to pursue frontline options. So we're hitting a couple of these here as we get into this now, 11 minutes into it. Not a whole lot of movement right now for anything. A lot of these decisions will be made in the spring anyway, and then we just update as we go. The more that we hear about what are some of the what's some of the thinking for at least again these two players, Miikka Muurinen and Obene Akizi Jr. At Southeastern Prep in Orlando, Florida. All right, let's get into a few other things here, just kind of tidying some stuff up. Again, talking with the staff, the understanding guys like Jordan Smith Jr., who they continue are working on getting him in to attend an Arkansas basketball game this season for an unofficial visit. We know he took his official visit in late September. Duke is typically thought of as the front runner. Arkansas right there in the top two or three. He's got a Final Six. The family loves Calipari and his coaching staff. The dad is interested in getting back to Arkansas for an unofficial visit. They're just trying to work out their schedule and when they might come in for a game. By the way, tonight, the first of 2 days of the ACC SEC Challenge, Duke, again, arguably the front runner here, hosting Florida from the SEC, and Jordan Smith Jr. will be attending that game tonight as we give you an update just on what's going on right now and plan for today. But whether it's Jordan Smith Jr., Brandon McCoy Jr., who Arkansas looks like in a dogfight the way it is now. Again, so much can happen between now and the spring. We don't know what else could change or emerge, but Brandon McCoy Jr., another top 5 rated 5 star guard, like Jordan Smith Jr. out of Virginia, Brandon McCoy, the left coast, Sierra Canyon in Los Angeles, Arkansas and Michigan. It looks like that's the battle as of now. But again, you're waiting until the spring. Caleb Holt, you might not feel like you're as in good a position with him, but again, another spring decision, and you don't know what other dominoes might shape this. When you look at again another top 5 rated 5 star guard, Holt playing his senior season at Prolific Prep, located now in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So there's Arkansas's philosophy again after visiting with the staff this week, knowing their wait and see mode, is they've not let go of the reins on any of the three. They feel like they're in a really strong position with at least a couple of them, and they don't feel like when you look at all three of them, they don't feel like they got a whole ton of ground to make up with any of the three. So that's encouraging. The other thing is, while you're in wait and see mode, you're trying to put your best foot forward in terms of developing your freshman guards who are your best shot creators, your best guys statistically when you look at scoring and some other things, and continue to develop those guys and get them ready for that first. Hopefully, both of them project as first round draft picks, and that plays out for those guards because you're trying to show these guys now that they're waiting through the spring, they're not just looking to see what happens with your roster, what you do in the portal. Calipari has a light portal uh, portfolio year in and year out. So he's not going to have to prove a whole lot there. Hey, I'm not going to recruit over you in the portal. But he is going to have to deliver on creating roster space for 5 star guards that want to come in and have the kind of impact that guys like Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas are having now. And you want to see, again, those guys that you help get them developed and ready for projected first round picks. So there's a lot of things these players are looking at, not just the NIL, and that's going to matter. And again, if my reporting from Calipari's camp, folks in his camp got back to me through a very reliable source that what was it last weekend, the weekend prior to Thanksgiving weekend, that he was talking to these folks and saying, "This is why I backed down from Baba O, and we're gonna shift more focus, even if that means where that goes with NIL, to stay in the hunt for guys like Jordan Smith Jr. as your top target that's remaining on the board, with others still mattering very much." And we've just gone through the names. Now, there's also the possibility that other players are going to come into the picture that are looking at reclassing for 2027. If we're still talking class of 2026, there's, again, we've mentioned this before, Arkansas is recruiting international players. That hasn't changed. That could potentially be part of your 26 class. They're open to the G League recruiting, which is becoming a thing, with players that have played in the G League committing to and going to have some level of eligibility to play at the college level, the high major, and D1 level. So all of these things are still on the table. And so there's not a whole lot of updates that are earth shattering, but I think it's important to remember the Miikka Muurinen stuff. Until we got so far to go, I can either sit on that information, or we can just give you in real time what we're hearing, even though it might change, because a lot of stuff with him has changed. Akizi's a guy we're probably not going to know anything anytime soon about a full intent to reclass. But because we know that these things are in play for Arkansas, and if they happen, it would be class of 2026. And Calipari's saying publicly very recently, we're looking to add one or two more. I don't think that's a wish. I think he's got a plan, and you can say, well, some of the plans fell through. I don't know that that's fully true when you shift gears and move on. I'm not going to pretend like Arkansas won the Baba Ala, or didn't lose the Baba Aladdin battle, but they pulled up stakes at the end when potentially they could have won it. I think he's had limits in his valuation ranges. You can debate whether or not you agree with those and whether he should maybe be a little more flexible. But I think because Arkansas has so many options in play, and you want to construct a roster that gives yourself a chance to be at the utmost competitive, win games, and then really help those players as part of that process, then I'm down with it until the results on the court start to show that maybe there's something wrong with this philosophical approach. Then I'm riding with that. But I think it's realistic to think Arkansas is going to get one or two. And remember, there's several still. We'll learn later where Arkansas is right in the thick of it, with top 10, top 5 rated 5-star caliber guys. I mean, even Muurinen, that's what he translates to. If you looked at it as a high school prospect, still a top 10 rated 5-star in that 2026 class. All right, we are 17 minutes in, just over that. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm Kevin McPherson, your host. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. That helps us out. Turn on the notifications. Comment. Give us some commentary. Let's we're not live today where I can look at the live comments, but I'm always interested in your feedback. Hope everybody's enjoying enjoyed their holiday. Now getting some more focus back into basketball season. We've been talking about football, the new hire, on some of our other platforms and segments. So it's really busy right now. And even though recruiting seems like it's kind of in a lull because you got to wait for a while, they're still very active. The staff is in recruiting. Speaking of uh, JJ Andrews, after 5 or 6 games, I think they have one loss. They've won everything else. They've played a tough schedule already to some degree, but JJ Andrews averaging over 33 points and nearly just a tick under 19 rebounds per game. He's had multiple games of 30 plus points and 20 plus rebounds. He's had a 40-point game scoring, and he's got a bunch of games coming up. He plays tonight on the road. Little Rock Christian plays at Marion. And then they've got 3 games at the end of the week: Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I think it's a tournament. But JJ Andrews very busy and really playing at a high level when you look at those stats. He's had they've played they played some decent and good competition already when you look at Little Rock Christian Academy. Anthony Spratt Jr., the 2028 guard, 6'5" guard wing out of Benton High School, so a sophomore. I've already seen him play and match up against JJ Andrews a couple of weekends ago. But in a recent game on Saturday against Little Rock Parkview, in a 5-point loss for Benton, Spratt with 31 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, a couple of assists. Earlier today, I tweeted a link to some of the highlights from that game. He looks really good. Go check those out on my Twitter page. You see my address here on the screen, at AR Hoopscoop on Twitter, or X, whatever you like to call it now. Whatever you fancy saying, roll with it. But yeah, go check out Anthony Spratt Jr. He is a legit. I mean, he's got the Arkansas offer. We know Duke's been involved. He's part of Team USA minicamp, and we'll see where that goes for him. JJ Andrews has been in that as well. These are national level players, as you know. JJ Andrews, a top 10-ish rated 5-star. I've got him ranked in the top 5 in the class of 2026. But Arkansas continues to keep tabs on players that they not only have signed, like Andrews, or have made offers to, like Anthony Spratt Jr., but how about Elijah Bryant, the 6'2" guard that I've been talking a lot about in recent segments? He missed a couple of games with the flu. Then he's been on a minutes restriction, playing 3 games in 3 days over the holidays. Rumble on the Ridge used to be a big time tournament. Still get some good teams up in Forest City, Arkansas. But he had that big breakout game against JJ Andrews, North Little Rock, defeating Little Rock Christian Academy in the season opener. And he went nuts, had that double double. And I put, we looked at some of the highlights on one of these segments, talked a lot about him. Arkansas staff already involved with him, as is Missouri, Iowa. But in 3 days, 3 consecutive days, he only played only got 16 minutes per game effectively. So averaging about half of a high school game. But when you look at him through 4 games now, 22 and a half points per game. Elijah Bryant, the 6'2" guard out of North Little Rock, 22 and a half points per game in only 21 minutes. So in 3 of his 4 games, he's been on a heavy minutes restriction. It's just insane work. He's doing very efficient, high volume 3-point shooter, silky smooth, has all the mid range craft, can finish above the rim. Earlier today, I tweeted a highlight of him at Rumble on the Ridge in transition, getting above the rim and dunking, and get a real good idea about that elite arm length, just a smooth operator. So that catches you up on right now just about everything. As we continue to monitor, who does Arkansas bring in? They'll be bringing in visitors during this season. They'll probably a lot of unofficial visits. We'll see if any official visits, but you're not fully just waiting until March and April to get into the full swing of recruiting. That'll be the heaviest part of it when you resume, but there's going to be other things that materialize between now and then, including getting some guys on campus. So we'll come back and revisit that. All right, 22 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET Hoops. Let's move into now just real quick before we get into this preview of Arkansas Louisville. Boy, that is a big game. Arkansas is overdue a marquee win this time of year. They didn't get one last year until later in December in Madison Square Garden against a ranked Michigan team. This is even higher ranked Louisville team. And yes, you're no longer in November, but it's early December, and you've got more big games coming up. You didn't have any more big games in non-conference play after Michigan. Arkansas needs to get off the mat, prove it's a good team by beating a good team, and get things going. So we're going to preview that. But first, let's just look at where Arkansas is now. When we look at, I put this tweet out yesterday because Arkansas, despite losing to Duke in its last game on Thanksgiving Day, Arkansas's played well enough against 2 top 10 teams now because Michigan State is beating everybody's ass. Arkansas, a 3-point loss on the road, had a chance to win it. Michigan State's proven to be a really good team, now ranked in the top 10. Duke, we know, is still in the top 5 up there at the top of the leaderboard there. And so no shame in either of those games, close losses. Arkansas had a couple of close wins against Samford and Winthrop that didn't look all that great. So there's a mixed bag here. As Arkansas, was undefeated at home again against by wins, by games, and a couple of close calls there, but 5-2 overall. And the Razorbacks remained in the Associated Press poll as well as the USA Today coaches top 25. So when those polls rolled out on Monday, despite another loss and despite some close calls against some mid-majors and, kind of a shaky start, if you will, Arkansas is still a ranked team. And I think that matters a little bit. 25th in AP, so the 25th and last team in that AP top 25. Coach is a little better, 23rd. They've been kind of, hanging around the mid 30s in the KenPom rankings. But in addition to the updated polls on Monday, the first net rankings, NCAA net evaluation tool rankings, which we know how important that is, those came out in Arkansas, not sitting real pretty there. 45th on Monday. As we talk today, they're still ranked 45th. So those things update daily based on results of games, even if you don't play, some of your opponents play, or other teams that either, whatever, based on their results, either move ahead of you or slide behind. But Arkansas is still 45th as of today. The resume not great when you look at the quad system. 0-2 in quad one games. We know who those opponents were. Arkansas 1-0 in quad three. That was Winthrop, a 4-4 Winthrop team. Rated high enough in the net for that to be a quad three result. Aside from that, the other four wins are against teams in the quad four. So just if you're trying to understand why Arkansas is 45th there and a little better in poll rankings and even KenPom, net, the analytics are not all exactly the same, in net is not valued Arkansas very much right now, and that's understandable. So I tweeted out all this data again on Monday when it came out. There's some of that information that you can see as I talk about it here. How about a little visual there for you? Not too shabby. But now let's get into this preview. We're just over 25 minutes in. I want to preview this game. We're going to get to some keys. There's a lot of things we need to talk about here. And I mentioned it. Look, Arkansas needs to come out with the idea that it's time to make a statement on its home court. This should be a packed Bud Walton Arena. That should be plenty of energy and boost for a team that should be hungry to nail down a marquee win. Arkansas does not have a marquee win yet this season. We know they finished last season with several, including the NCAA tournament. I had to have several to make it to the tournament because it was a team that was, on the bubble and for a while on the wrong side of the bubble. But so far this season, it looked like a team that might really pick up at least one marquee win in November based on the results in the exhibition season and some other things that we thought going into it. Now, there's still quite a few question marks, but at the end of the day, this is a good Arkansas team. They just got to go beat a good team for everybody to see that and believe it. You can believe it all you want, but until they go and win a game like that, it's still an unproven quantity, even though it makes sense that eventually they'll do it. Until they do, what are we really talking about here? So this is the perfect opportunity on your home court. That's got built-in advantage Arkansas. I don't know how many points, but it's going to be worth some points for Arkansas in this game. Just playing at home in a packed house, and hungry to make a point and prove that you're not just good enough to compete with good teams, you're good enough to beat good teams. So I start off with that. Now, this is a Louisville team, when you look at it statistically, that is scary as hell. This is a team averaging 96.7 points per game. That's fourth in Division One. Just a juggernaut on offense. This is an elite offensive team statistically, making 13.33 made threes per game. That ranks second in Division One. Taking 35.6 threes per game. That's fourth in Division One. They take 6 more threes per game than they do 2-point shots. But they're great shooting 2-point shots. 29.7 2-point field goals per game, 61.1% on 2-point shots is top 30 in the NCAA in Division One. They're shooting 37.3% from three. So when you look at how many attempts they have and how many makes they have, ranking both top five in the country, even though that 37.3% ranks only 63rd, that is still a really good clip. That is a really good clip. And when you consider the volume, it snowballs and it makes it hard to beat that team, especially when, even though they take fewer from two, they're really good at converting those. And so a lot of that are putbacks. This team is averaging 14.3 offensive rebounds per game. That's Arkansas's Achilles heel, trying to keep teams off the offensive glass. That ranks 37th in Division One. I mean, everything that this team does well, it could be problematic for Arkansas. Cardinals averaging 20.7 assists per game, very reminiscent of the numbers Duke brought in when he looked at that Duke team last week offensively. Only 10.6 turnovers, so that's almost identical to the numbers Duke was given. Now, Duke, a more physical team. This is a team, when you look at that three-point shooting, they're not just going to bite you in the half court. This is maybe the best three-point shooting in primary transition and secondary transition that I've seen so far this year, and one of the best in the last few years. And then when they spread you out, they have really good action off their two-man game, really good smart passing. And then when they do get misses, they get a lot of offensive rebounds, and they convert their 2-point shots. Because if you run them off the three line, they do a really good job of picking and choosing on their drives off of that and getting a numbers advantage of getting in for close range shots, or your defense tries to help, you're out of sorts, and they make it pass for an easy score. The other problem you have is you're thinking, okay, shoots a lot of threes, they must not shoot a lot of free throws. No, that's not true. This team is shooting I wrote this down here and now I've misplaced my okay, 27.1 free throw attempts per game, 31st, top 30th in Division One. That's really good. Shooting, making 75.8% of that. That ranks 61st in the country. So that's a really good percentage at a high clip of FTA. So there's not really a weakness on offense. They don't turn the ball over, they assist well, and they are a nightmare when you start looking at the volume of threes that this team takes. And we look at the individuals transfer from Xavier, Ryan Conwell, who's been a high level player at Xavier before he got to Louisville, but 20.1 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists. He does a little bit of everything, but 45.2% from distance on nearly 9 3-point attempts per game. That's insanely elite. That's NBA kind of numbers, level stuff there. And this guy doesn't toe the line. Mikael Brown Jr., the 5-star freshman guard. There've been so many comparisons during the high school level between him and Darius Acuff Jr. But Mikael Brown Jr., 17 points per game, leads the team at 6 assists per game. So, um, you know, facilitator, 3.3 rebounds, big lead guard at 6'5" tall. But he's shooting only 30.6% from three, but he's taking 7 per game. And so again, a guy that's a little streaky, but if he's on and some of these other guys are on it, it could be a long night for Arkansas. You look at another backcourt player, Virginia transfer, Isaac McNeely, another 6'4" veteran guard, 12.3 points per game. But he's shooting 42.9% from three on 8 3-point field goal attempts per game. So this is, I mean, you're talking a guy that's shooting 9 a game in Conwell, 7 per game in Mikael Brown Jr., and 8 per game from distance again from Isaac McNeely. So just simple math, that's 17, 24 threes per game just coming from 3 players. This is just crazy work from three, and they're good getting to the free throw line and good inside the arc because they can share the ball in ways that bring easy shots. And you've got to fear their 3-point shooting in transition because they'll run up trailers intentionally. You think you're back, and they're hitting you with a quick either a true transit first primary transition or a quick secondary transition strike. And so those are the things you got to look out for, and that can be problematic. They go about 9 deep. There's other players I didn't mention. A couple of their bigs. You look at their minutes. They combine for about 40 minutes. A couple of 6'11" 7-footers. One 6'11", one's a 7-footer and giving them, 10, 11 rebounds between the two of them, combining for that. So it's not just, a guard. There are a lot of guards in this lineup, but it's not they're not just a guard perimeter shooting oriented team completely. The front line can pose problems. Look, in my opinion, for Arkansas, we don't talk enough probably about Arkansas's transition and how effective that transition has been, because the problem areas are the reasons why so far, which is lack of physicality, lack of paint presence consistently, not getting enough separation in the turnovers and points off turnovers department, getting beat up in points in the paint against Duke and some other things. We focused on some of the negatives. Arkansas is no slouch scoring the ball or getting out in transition. And this is a game where Arkansas needs to impose its will. This is not as physical team as Duke or Michigan State were, and you're at home where maybe some of the whistles go your way. That hasn't proven yet, really, for Arkansas in a big matchup at home. But this is a new season, the first big matchup at home this season. And you've just got to impose your will early. So my 3 keys: Arkansas needs a fast start. Does not need to fall behind in this game. This is a Louisville team that when we look at it, yeah, they've got crazy good numbers, but they've only played Kentucky. That's really the only team that and Kentucky's got its problems. I'm not even sure how good Kentucky is, other than having a high net ranking and high still on the AP poll ahead of Arkansas. I mean, some of these things, I'm not sure how that's the case, but it is. But you've got that's Louisville's quality win. Everything else has been quad 3 and quad 4, and Arkansas's played 2 quality teams so far. Louisville only one, and now Louisville's got to play at Bud Walton Arena. So a couple of things: the house is going to be jacked. Need a great start. Keep the energy up among the fan base in the building, 20,000, whatever it is. But a fast start to this game, not falling behind and playing from behind. the crowd's quiet, that kind of thing. Arkansas needs a great start in this game. And I think the way you do that is to impose your will physically and play to your strengths immediately. Run on, obviously, live ball turnovers, defensive rebounds, off makes, put pressure on this team. Now, is it a double-edged sword to play with pace? Arkansas is a really good up and down team because they can get from one end to the other really fast. But that may dictate a tempo that Louisville likes because of where they're scoring right now. So I think you gotta pick your spots there. And if it becomes a game that's scored in the hundreds, I think Arkansas is going to have a chance to still win this game regardless. But I think Arkansas is built better to play a more grinding style if it chooses to do that, whether that's from the start and that's a game plan, or for certain stretches. I think that's advantage Arkansas. Even though this team hasn't been physical yet, I think this is an opportunity positionally, not just on the front line, but other places to maybe impose some physical will. Obviously, you want your two freshman guards, who are your leading scorers, leading assists, they're top in several categories, to have good games and be on point. But you need guys like Carter Knox, who's been up and down and not good against Arkansas's two toughest games so far. You need more from him. You need DJ Wagner to snap out of it. DJ played better on the road against Michigan State, not so well, only 16 minutes against Duke. You need those two, your preseason All SEC guys. You need both of those guys stepping up. You need Trevor Brazile, who's been pretty solid. Didn't have a good game against Michigan State, had a double-double against Duke, did some good things there. You need him to be, he's been your most consistent of the retention players, along with Billy Richmond III. And so I expect to see both of those players bring the energy and try to be catalysts to turn Arkansas's fortunes around against marquee kind of teams. So we're obviously, when you're only go 8 deep, you need everybody and all hands on deck. But while finished with in terms of individuals, Malik Ewan and/or Nick Pringle need to have their best game of the season. Nick Pringle, his best game became his best game to this point at the end of that Winthrop game when Arkansas had to have it to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. So either a combination of those two or one or the other having their best game so far is probably what's going to be required here. This could be a game where Ewan can maybe eat a little bit offensively. It's not as physical a team in Louisville as what he faced in front lines against Michigan State and Duke. And so maybe this is an opportunity for Ewan to really step out and then really kind of start bringing to the forefront a vision for how good this Arkansas team can be if they can get some guys going that haven't really been firing on all cylinders, closer to maybe misfiring as much as doing some good things. And again, when you go back to Carter Knox and DJ Wagner, Arkansas needs those two to really perform tomorrow night at Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville. So when I looked at the keys, I mentioned the fast start, playing the energy of the Bud Walton Arena crowd. Get off on the right foot. And I think that's just attacking this team and trying to force this team to deal with you getting downhill, getting those paint touches. Yeah, you're going to get some open threes off of that. Share that basketball. No more hero ball. Move it. Don't, you finish games the wrong way playing 1-on-5 against both Michigan State and Duke. And I think if you start the game playing the right way, if you're in a tight game late, maybe this time you'll do things a little differently and finish it a little differently in terms of how to make sure that you're getting the quality possessions, quality shots, sharing the ball and getting some easy scores to finish the game or maybe get to the free throw line. But to do that, you need to set that precedent early. And Arkansas tends to fall in love with that three, overly do it with air. And I don't know that the formula to beat this team is to try to match them shooting from three. I guess we'll see what plays out. Uh, the second key I had for this game is I'm going to get to second and then third, and then we're going to wrap it up. I think Arkansas's got to win the turnover and transition battle. I think they got to get both of those. It would be nice if you want to throw in winning free throws, and you can do that in more than one way. Shoot at a better percentage than your opponent, enough to either stay close or win that, make more free throws. Certainly, you'd take that. But even if you're having an off night, then you would have a lopsided difference in how many free throws you shoot if your percentage is a little down and still either break even or win that. But between winning turnovers, the transition game, and let's throw free throws in there, Arkansas's got to secure victories statistically in at least two of those. Maybe they need all three But I'm looking for Arkansas to find a way to be better than Louisville in those areas because I'm not sure yet what this team's going to do, keeping this team or any team, because they haven't done it yet, off the offensive glass and those second chance points and some of those blue collar situations. If I'm saying in part of the first key is Arkansas needs to lean on its physicality and set a tone, Arkansas can do that, but I'm still not sure where this team's going to land on keeping teams off the offensive glass. Part of that's physicality, but there's other stuff going on there because going on 2 years under Calipari or in the second season now, last year's team wasn't good in that area, not good now. Last year's team lacked physicality, thought this had improved. A lot of question marks still there. But I think Arkansas, again, you look at turnovers, transition, and free throws, that helps offset some of your other shortcomings, especially if you're getting ran up at the 3 point line. That remains to be seen. And I think defensively, at the end of the day, as good as we said Louisville's been shooting outside and inside the arc, you're going to have to take one of those away. Or when I say take it away, they need to have an inefficient night either inside the arc or out or from three or below the efficiency that they're used to. And so Arkansas defensively has got to find a way to win, consider it a win by keeping Louisville down from what it's used to. I don't know that you can take all of it away, but I think either the 2 point shooting or the 3 point shooting, one or the other. If you get both, and you knock Louisville down a few pegs outside the arc and in, you're probably winning and maybe by a double digit margin. All right, we're over 40 minutes now, 41 and a half minutes. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. We just did a quick preview. Arkansas, Louisville, the sixth ranked Cardinals, 7-0. Arkansas still ranked 25th in the AP poll, 5-2. Bud Walton Arena tip off at 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPN, the mothership. It's part of the third annual ACC SEC Challenge. Arkansas is undefeated in this, 2-0, right? Small body of work. Arkansas and Louisville are 4-4 all time. So the winner gets a little bragging rights there, takes the lead in the all time series. There's been some great matchups back in the 80s in NCAA tournament. When you looked at that entire decade with guys like Darrell Walker, U.S. Reed, the shot heard round college basketball in the NCAA tournament by U.S. Reed from just around half court there to put Arkansas to advance Arkansas in that tournament. Uh, Todd Day, Lee Mayberry, Oliver Miller as freshmen losing to Louisville in the NCAA tournament. So this has been a hell of a series. But when you looked at the 80s, since then they haven't played a whole lot. But again, it's tied up, it's even up at 4-4. Calipari's got a long history competing against Louisville when he was head coach at Kentucky, and that what was once an annual rivalry. I guess it still is. I don't have all those stats here. I just care about what's going on with Arkansas and the history and trying to add one more on Wednesday at Bud Walton Arena. I think that place is going to be jacked. I can't wait to be there. But until next time, I can't wait to see all of you again. But until then, be great in all your endeavors. Hope you're a happy Hog fan right now, or going into this game anyway with a positive outlook. Can't control how you feel about it, but it's Arkansas's overdue, and I think Arkansas is going to win this game. But until next time, and it'll be probably the next time will be a live post game tomorrow night from Bud Walton Arena. Until then, appreciate all of you. Be great in all your endeavors. We'll see you soon.